Hi, today I want to talk about trauma and how it relates to getting this illness and how you're going to recover from this illness. And I've got some questions about it, so that's why I'm addressing it, and I think it's a very interesting topic. And yeah, it's a commonly used term nowadays, trauma. But I think everyone has their traumas, and it depends very much on someone's own life experience and circumstances. Like, it doesn't have to be a big thing, a trauma, for example. It can be micro traumas, for example, where during childhood or teenage years you kind of pick up on these conditions of society and conform yourself to living in a certain way and suppressing your authentic being and expression, which is very common. We all kind of self-censor ourselves in our expression because we want to fit in, and it's a very natural evolutionary process where we want to be accepted by others because we want to be in our tribe and loved by people, so we are safe and we know that people will care for us. So it's like an adaptation that comes from a deep instinct to suppress some of your authentic ways of being to secure some safety. It can be that you've had big traumatic experiences in the past. It can be multiple small things. It doesn't really matter. You don't have to compare it with other people's traumas or so. You can't say like, oh yeah, but I didn't have such. My parents didn't die in a car crash, or I whatever. You can always compare it with something bigger and kind of minimize your own experiences. But if there's something unresolved, if things trigger you in day-to-day life right now, if things trigger you emotionally, then you could say that that's from a trauma, unresolved emotions from a traumatic experience. I think many people will agree that trauma plays a big part in this whole puzzle of this illness. Because it has its effect on the nervous system. It will kind of fill up your bucket of things that keep your emotional body busy, and it will change the way you will view the world. If you've had some traumatic experiences, you will see the world through a very different lens. You will look at the world usually as like a dangerous place, something you will you need to do a lot of control and managing to stay safe. Again, it's an adaptation that can be useful, but can also be very detrimental, where you get these things in your head that you need to control everything, and everything is unsafe, and you're going to shield yourself from the world. And this can put your nervous system in constant stress, fight or flight, and eventually maybe freeze. And it will cause you to get triggered a lot in day-to-day life, because certain experiences will remind you of this kind of traumatic experience, and your mind will respond to it and try to shield yourself from it, try to distance yourself from life, and try to suppress anything that comes up. So I do think it plays quite a big part in getting this illness in the first place, also because it will cause you to act in different ways. It will cause you to act inauthentically and suppress your emotions. But luckily, we can work on this, and it's the most valuable work you can do almost, because you will free yourself from those weights you've been carrying around all the time, all your life, for however long. And usually when people get a bit further into this process, they recognize that this is not about just having this illness. Usually in most people. There were things going on before that. You maybe weren't satisfied with your life before that. There were things boiling underneath the surface. And this is the opportunity for you to finally address those imbalances, or how you want to call it. And it's the best of, you don't have another choice. That's the thing. Life pushes you. Speaking from my own experience, I wouldn't have tackled these issues if it wasn't for this. And you could almost say that the nervous system is kind of this intelligent being here, which pushes me to finally face and tackle these things, because otherwise I would never change. I would have never changed. I would have stayed within the kind of comfortable, not so comfortable area and kind of went on living. So I needed this. I needed this push towards the most uncomfortable experience I've ever had or been through. But it forces me to work on it and to resolve those things and to remove this weight that I've been carrying around all the time. So see it as an opportunity, I would say, for growth, towards freedom. And it's gonna be a difficult process, but it's so worthwhile. So keep that in the back of your mind when it gets tough. And why I started making this video in the first place was because I saw a comment on one of my recent videos where someone asked, do I need to search or dig towards the trauma? Do I need to bring it up, or do I just have to wait? And that's a question I've been getting quite a lot, actually. And it was something I've experienced myself as well. And it's kind of a trick of the mind. And it's drenched with resistance towards this moment, because you're kind of experiencing this moment and it's uncomfortable. You want to change, you want to be recovered, you don't want to experience this anymore, and that's totally understandable. But then the mind is gonna project, oh, if I just get to this juicy trauma, if I can just release that big old chunk of trauma, then I'm gonna be recovered. So let me just get to this, the cake. Let me just get to the cake. Let me just get to the dessert, or how you want to call it. And that's kind of moving away from this moment. And that's also the essential teaching of this video, is the trauma is gonna present to you in this moment. It's always gonna be in this moment. It's not in the future or in the past. The trauma will show itself in everyday life circumstances. Whenever you get triggered, you can work on those triggers. You can work with the sensations in the body, everything that comes up, all the thoughts that come up, all the beliefs that come up. But there's a certain awareness needed for you to be aware that it's happening and not to get caught up in the story. So you can be very reactive towards other people who might say something to you, and you can get totally caught up in the story. It's like, yeah, that guy's an asshole, and he didn't need to do that, or he shouldn't have done that. But it's good to see your reactivity coming up in that moment, and like, maybe you don't even have to link it back to a past event or a past trauma. It can be helpful sometimes to kind of bring it up and feel whatever was there. If you bring something up from the past and there's significant sensations associated with it, that can be helpful to bring something up and to work through it within the body, to sit with it, to feel the sensations, because there's something unresolved there. But if there's a trigger event right now, you don't need to link it back to anything in the past. You can just feel what is here. If you have the awareness that it's coming up and you don't get caught up, someone does something to you and you get triggered, you feel reactivity, and instead of reacting, you feel it. You feel the need to protect yourself, to say something back, to if he challenges my ego, I need to challenge his, and I need to fire back the bullet. You can feel that without doing it. You can, and it's gonna be uncomfortable. It applies to a lot of things. It will apply to the things that have been traumatic to you. That's the thing. It's very personal. But you need a certain type of awareness to see the things coming up in your experience. It can be also, for example, like kind of OCD type behavior, where you are constantly checking certain things, like, is the door locked? Is everything clean in my house? Is everything organized? Those are tendencies to ensure that, for example, the door being locked, that you are safe. And maybe you've had an experience where someone broke into your house, and that has caused you to be hyper vigilant and hyper aware about every time checking if the door is locked 2, 3, 4 times, because you don't trust yourself anymore. There's so much control built on top of a traumatic experience. And just feel that tendency to, for example, go and check the lock. And you don't have to check the lock, because you can trust yourself that you did it the first time. And just feel it coming up, the urge to do it, the urge to do certain things that are caused by unresolved traumatic experiences. So it's very personal, and a basic meditation practice will make you more aware of these things playing in your life. So that's something I recommend in every video, and you might get tired of it, but it is so beneficial. And then when you identify a trigger, you always work with it in the moment. You always work with the sensations, just the sensations. Try to drop the story. Sometimes if you want to, you can link it back to a certain past event to kind of make sense out of it, but it's not needed. It can be helpful for some people, but it's about feeling the sensation fully and not letting it overtake you, not taking action to get rid of the sensation by fulfilling its need, for example, to react to someone or checking the door. So again, it's a bit of a mix. You can explore certain things in your past. For example, writing about experiences that you think might be traumatic can be very helpful. And then the key is to work with the sensations that come up during the writing, during the exploring. But most importantly, it's about what triggers you in your life right now. And right now means right now, and it means right now tomorrow. So just in the moment now. So whenever you're in line of a supermarket and you're getting triggered, you're like, why can't they just be going quicker? I need to go, I'm in a hurry and stuff. Maybe you've had an experience where you've been late at an appointment and someone was so mad at you for being late, and that just hurt you so much that now you're so strict on being on time every time. Or it was something your parents emphasized so much that you need to be on time you can't be late 1 minute or else, the world depends on it. Your self-worth depends on it. So in those situations, you can just feel the sensations, stand in the line and feel everything, surrender to it. And that's where the traumas are. And the more you feel into it, the more space you create for other stuff to come up. So things will move how they want to move. There's some intelligence in this. It's not in your control. And you don't need to seek to get to the trauma. You just need to be aware in daily life and observe it coming up and be open to it. And it will come more and more until the tank is emptied. So, good luck emptying the tank. And yeah, I wish you the best. And until next video, goodbye.